Elodie, how you doing, brother? Welcome back. How's your weekend been, bro? All right. That's it up. Okay. So, there we go. I'm all right, man. How about you? Hey, I can't complain. Life's good. The weekend was good. I had a lot of fun this weekend. And, yeah, I've been playing some Vampire Survivor for the first time ever. Really enjoying that. Like, really enjoying that. Nothing special. Playing FF16 and chilling. Oh, nice. I still want to try out FF16, but... Heavy Metal, how you doing, brother? What time is it for you, Heavy Metal? Diffin, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to you. I'm taking a little break from arguing with people on Twitter. 6 a.m. That's not that early, Heavy Metal. Come on. It's how you should start your day. You know, a cup of coffee, some Akko streaming. Let's go. Dude, my eye has been itchy since this morning, which is super annoying. Certainly has the same big issue as FF14. What's the issue? I still don't really know what the issue is with FF14. I hear a lot of people complaining about it, but I genuinely have no idea what the issue is. The world is undercooked, not world building, but the locations themselves. Huh. That's interesting, because you don't expect that from Yoshi P. Been up since 3 a.m. since daughter won't sleep. Oh, man. Yeah, all right. I get ya. Well, I'm happy to keep you company while you chill. How old is your daughter now, Heavy Metal? I'm assuming young, since, well, if it was your teenage daughter, who gives a crap? It's their problem if they can't sleep, right? Acedia, how you doing? Elodie, yeah, that's very interesting. I wonder why. About 15 months? Oh, yeah. Little baby. Okay. I feel you, bro. I feel you. Yeah, dude, that's the one thing about children that no one, I think, can prepare you for. But has to be done. Just doing. Cedia, really? Is it that bad? She's like, yeah, bro, I'm just trying to stay alive. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Is it really that bad? Like, surely life isn't that terrible. Oh, shit. All right. No, I haven't done any crafting in WoW yet. Not any, but I've done a little bit, but I still hate the crafting in WoW. It's actually a good thing for me. Nothing happening. Okay. Then you know, I'm not gonna disturb your peace. I'll make sure that also nothing happens during the stream. Just so that you know you don't feel out of your depth. It's mostly because you have to use a map to teleport everywhere. There's no feeling of having a coherent world. Wait, isn't FF16 open world? Or is it more like missions? Almost like a Mass Effect type of scenario. So it's not open world. Wow. I wonder why they would choose to do action combat, but they not have an open world. That's awkward. Oh, man. It's the same thing that Dragon Age really, the Veilguard runs into from a gameplay perspective. It just doesn't work. If you're going to do action combat, you need to have open world. Maybe for time constraints. Cedia, I just don't buy that. It's like you have an endless amount of choices that you can make. If you're going to choose action combat, in my opinion, make it open world or at least feign open world. So you look, for example, at Dragon Age Inquisition. Is Dragon Age Inquisition an open world game? Not really. The areas are just very large, but it is still technically an instanced area. Yes, it's large, but it's still instanced. You can't just freely travel from one place to the next. And that works. But if you're going to do action combat and then it's literally going to be mission based, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I enjoy that. Mega Man, how you doing, sir? The combat is great. The story is amazing, but not having open world kind of sucks. What do you call that kind of game? Open zone? Yeah, well, it's still technically open world, I guess, because it's not just linear progression, but it is sort of fake open world. You know, it's like a fake open world. So they make the zone larger than what it appears to be. And that gives you the sense of open world, even though you're technically not playing in the open world. So that it works. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, one might make the argument Starfield could have benefited from that. If instead of truly making shit open world, they feigned open world would probably have been a hell of a lot better. But then it's also the case of how. Like, how are you getting from point A to point B? And is it purely just a mission table thing? Which I think is sort of... HVP, how you doing, sir? Mega Man, did I say hello to you? If I haven't, thank you. How you doing, sir? It's sort of like if you look at... So Mass Effect, I think, does this mission-based gameplay probably better than most. And the reason for that is what Mass Effect does is, while yes, you are technically just going on missions, and yes, technically it is just a map, and you click on the map and you go to the next location, there's a sense of travel involved in that, because the map is located on the spaceship, and the spaceship is the thing that moves from one place to the next. So you feel like you're on this giant space exploration thing, even though you are technically just going from mission to mission. So it sort of fakes the idea of interconnectivity. Whereas if the missions literally go as follows, you finish a mission, you go to your headquarters, there's a map in the middle, you click on the map, you choose the next mission, you go to that mission. I feel like that's such an old style of game development. Like, it's so dated. Well, you know, really? That's the best we can do in 2024? In a world that provides endless possibilities. Like, even the old Dragon Age games do this perfectly, where even though technically, again, it is faking or feigning the open world, in your travels loading screen between one point and the next, you can be ambushed. So what does it do? It reestablishes that idea of, oh, I'm traveling. The fact that you can be ambushed, the fact that there is this risk of being ambushed on your travels, provides you with the sense that you're not, in fact, playing missions, but you are actually traveling in this massive giant world. You should be able to do shit like that. Yeah, I can see that. Tekla, how you doing? Don't like traveling through mirrors? Polara is sad. Yeah, I mean, screw that game. I'm not that shocked. A lot of games aren't made with love anymore, just for profit. Acedia, but what bothers me is that this is Yoshi P. Yoshi P, I don't see him as the kind of guy that's just going to do something for money and not give a crap about anything else. Do you? Because he's never struck me as someone that would do that. He doesn't do that with FF14. It might be one of those weird design decisions where he kind of wanted to merge the old with the new, because that is a very old style. If you guys remember, way back in the day with like the earliest games, if they were mission based, you would oftentimes finish the mission. Take Warcraft, for example. In Warcraft, you would finish the mission, go back to the menu screen, click next mission, and then go back into the next mission, right? So that's sort of like that, except now you have a mission table, so it's a little bit more gameplay-esque, but it's still the same thing. maybe he was sort of trying to sneakily merge the old with the new style of combat, new graphics, but that old mission table effect. And that probably just didn't land. I'd be interested to see how is FF16 doing on Steam. Like, what's the verdict? Final Fantasy 16, here we go. Mostly positive, actually. Kiki, how you doing? New Gash, how you doing? Action combat doesn't need open world. DMC, for example, Dark Souls games are also linear. Elden Ring is the first big open world Souls-like. Dark Mephisto, here's your one mistake. Your one mistake is thinking in terms of 10 years ago. Thinking in terms of what used to be and what is now. Avedon, 25 months part of the Degeneration. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Games evolve. For example, any new RPG that comes out after 2023 will always be compared to Baldur's Gate 3. So if you are a company that is currently making games in the RPG genre, I highly suggest you look at Baldur's Gate 3, try and identify what it is that made it the game that it is, and then try at least to emulate that. If you cannot, then you have to make the game so different that people don't compare it to Baldur's Gate 3, which is good luck with that, but that's what you need to do. Gaming, as with all trends within the market, always changes. For example, let's go out of the gaming industry. Let's look at clothing. It used to be well and truly accepted that if you bought a jacket, the jacket would have shoulder pads. Right? So if I make the argument, all jackets have shoulder pads today, people would go, what are you talking about? But that's old thinking. Right? We have moved on from there. Trends change over time. And the same is true for the gaming industry. If you're going to have an action combat game, an RPG action combat game, open world, or at least fake open world is expected. It's like the bare minimum of what people expect. Fake open world is also fine, and there's plenty of games that do fake open world relatively well, but you're gonna have to do more than just a full-blown linear storytelling. Which, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying that it can't work, but you have to be so careful because it is going to be one of those things that players are immediately not going to be super happy with. So if you are going to go full-blown story mode with your game, it has to be brilliant, and the zones have to be brilliant. Else, yeah, it's just not going to feel fun. Dark Mephisto, no. That in and of itself, but that's a whole different argument. You conceded that I'm right, trends do change, but now you're starting a new argument insofar as, is what we have today better than what we had 5 or 10 years ago? And I would argue, based on the success of Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate 3, and others, Elden Ring, that yes, what we have today is the right answer. Players clearly enjoy games like Elden Ring, games like Cyberpunk, games like Baldur's Gate 3. And by the way, Baldur's Gate 3 is another example of a fake open world game because it's technically not open. It is mission-based effectively because you have a giant zone. Yes, the zone is large, but it's not open world. You can't travel uninterrupted into the Underdark, for example. It's all loading screens in between, but it works because of how large it is, and it gives players the ability to really explore and enjoy themselves. Like I said, I have no problem with a mission-based development style if you want to do mission-based. I think you just make it very difficult for your game to succeed because if you have no open world and instead you're just doing mission screens, those mission screens have to be near perfect. They have to hide a lot of secret passages and secret locations. They have to be super interesting to explore. They have to make up for the fact that they're not part of the open world by being better than what the open world could offer. Otherwise, it's a failure. It's a bit more AK, not all backyard, or a lot of secret passages, oven radiation, or super interesting bridge. I feel like that's the top to my problem for the fact that they just aren't good. Well, yeah, I can see that. I can, like, look, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as, Michael, how you doing, sir? There's no such thing as a right or a wrong way to do something. Well, there is a wrong way to do something. Ask Dragon Age, The Veilguard, and Bioware, or Star Wars The Outlaws. You can ask either one of them. But technically speaking, when it comes to like design philosophy choices, there really is no right or wrong way. There's less and more resistance options. So the less resistant option would be open world. Players nowadays love open world. Most people accept the open world. And as long as it's not a Ubisoft open world, most players will enjoy it. The second you go to mission-based, you're now going to be under a lot more scrutiny because players are already not going to like that. So you have to be super good. Like if you, for open world, need it to be 80% good in order for it, or 60% good in order for it to pass and players to be happy, you're going to need to be 85% good for mission-based in order for players to be happy. So you are just sort of making it a little bit harder for yourself. But you're saving time on not having to design an entire open world, right? So it's sort of like, it's a give or take scenario. Rapunzel, how you doing? Open world is inferior to a mixture of linear and open areas for narrative-led RPGs. I wouldn't say that, Rapunzel, because, again, it depends on who makes the game. Look at Cyberpunk 2077, for example. Cyberpunk 2077 would really not have worked had it not been open world. So it really nailed because it was open world. Witcher 3 would be another great example of a game that just would not have been as good was it not open world. I do agree with you that I think the type of game that you're trying to make, and here I don't mean the genre, because not all... I have long since been a guy with a problem with gaming genres because it feels like a lot of gaming genres get shoehorned into one another, even though they don't technically belong together. But never mind that. Not all RPGs are created equal. You have some RPGs that almost certainly would be better if it were more instanced, for example. And then you have others that clearly benefit from having a more open world effect. So now, life literally, Mass Effect template is superior in my opinion. It's okay to disagree though. Mass Effect works for Mass Effect, but you have to go look at what did Mass Effect do. And is this your first time, Rapunzel, playing Cyberpunk 2077? Mass Effect worked because of the spaceship. You remove the spaceship from Mass Effect, and suddenly it doesn't feel as good. Because the spaceship technically makes it feel kind of open worldy, right? The fact that you're on the Normandy and that you're traveling to these different planets and these different planets house different missions fakes an open world event because clearly you can't walk in space. So no one would expect you to get on horseback and drive to other planets. You're going to need a spaceship. And you have a spaceship. So, you know, so it kind of fakes it. And that works if that's what you want to go for. But now imagine Mass Effect, if it didn't have the Normandy, and instead what you would do is you would go to the Citadel, click on a map in the Citadel, choose your next mission, and just shoot to the next mission. Would it have been as successful? Would players have appreciated the game as much? In DS2, you can start with 11 different bosses. I call that an open world design, better than what ER did, beautiful as it is. Tekla, okay, seeing you with more hair feels weird. It suits you though. KK, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. The spaceships is where all the good stuff happens. You're always excited to get back to it. True. The open worlds of CD Projekt Red are amazing, but I think the biggest difference is that they managed to tell incredible side stories in the open world that rival the quality of main stories in other games. It's just interesting, not dull. Zelena, I absolutely agree with you. And I do not wish to sit here and say that all other companies need to be able to rival what CD Projekt Red does. Because let's be real. If you were to talk about the greatest open world games on the market today, the only other company that comes close is Rockstar. And maybe even surpasses it, because Red Dead Redemption 2, even though as far as gaming goes, I have played far more Witcher 3 and far more Cyberpunk 2077, I am still in love with what Red Dead Redemption 2 did. Like, that open world is nuts. And I maybe I wouldn't even say it's better. It's the same. The thing is, in Witcher, CD Projekt Red managed to make the world feel like an actual world. It felt like an actual world that people are living in. CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 27 is the same thing, right? It feels like an actual city. You don't feel ever driving through that city as if it was all just put here to make you go from one point to the next. It feels like how a city would look in that time frame, in that time period. And that's the same for Red Dead Redemption 2, right? It feels exactly the same. Pretty phenomenal, given the time it came out. I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 1. The power of imagination is so powerful. Open worlds don't allow you to imagine, because you can explore the entire map. Books are the same. They allow you to imagine and dream. Rapunzel, true, and also, well, open world, I would say open world is a much harder skill to master well, but it can be done. And if it's done well, it is phenomenal. Again, look at Red Dead Redemption 2. How many people in chat have played Red Dead Redemption 2? And how many people in chat didn't absolutely feel like Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2? You were a cowboy. No questions asked. No nonsense, no bullshit. You were a cowboy. It's great. Right? It nailed it. And the open world is part of what nailed it. I would say the same for Cyberpunk. I would say the same for The Witcher 3. Bully is the best Rockstar game. Fight me. Bully is a pretty good game. And if it can be done, but the problem is that's so based on the individual and how many individuals taste. Or I'll be honest, I will never touch either one of those games. Which games, Mega? Mountain and Red Dead Redemption 2. Snivels, yep. A good open world is very difficult to do, and most games just fail at it. I had so many games where I thought, if they had just not tried to do it open world, I will be honest with you, you literally just described every single Ubisoft game I've ever played. The only Assassin's Creeds that I ever enjoyed was the first 3. Those were the only ones that I enjoyed, because they weren't really open world. I would say, actually, Black Flag was pretty decent, although I don't remember much of it. But Black Flag was alright. But the first 3 was like the best, because it was an open world, but the city was open. And you could go anywhere in the city, but because it was much smaller, it felt a lot better, you know? And it's sort of like the same thing for me if you look at every Ubisoft game. I hate the Far Cry games. At least I've never played the earliest Far Cry games, but I have played numbers 5 and number 6, I think. I hated both of them. Could not stand them. Because Ubisoft's open world is literally Blueprint applied to all games. Like, if you've played Ubisoft's, if you've played, for example, Assassin's Creed, and you play Far Cry, it's the same map. It's the same thing. It's literally the exact same thing. Yeah, the icons are different because obviously it's in a different world, but the activities, the events, the way the open world feels is the same thing. How's your hype about tomorrow's Walk of Dragon? I'm looking forward to it. Do you remember in ME1 when you land on the Citadel and you looked onto the city through the giant window in the markets with Ashley and Kaden? I remember my first time landing on the Citadel. Yes. And I remember looking at it and just thinking, shit. I so wish I could live here. I was a bit younger then, but I was completely bowled by that game. I will never forget it. Now you see, I have the same feeling around Night City. So you've played Cyberpunk 4 times now. Have you, like, how often have you just gotten into your car and just drive? Just go. Just drive through the streets. So, for example, I never fast travel in Night City, ever. Even now, and I think I'm on my 6th or 7th playthrough, I never fast travel, ever. I like driving everywhere because this city is so real. I only picked up Cyberpunk last week. And Revy G, what do you think? Wait, Cyberpunk had fast travel? Yeah, you could take... Well, I also kind of like the way they fast traveled because technically you're fast traveling on buses and trains. So you could run to the train station, for example, and grab a fast travel to other stops on the train station. Or you run to the bus stop and then you grab a fast travel to another bus stop. So yeah, there is technically. Risotto, how are you doing, sir? The retailer not selling Mass Effect to me had to take my dad and stay outside and wait for him to buy the game. Oh. But the thing is, I remember looking at it, and even if you want to say a fake open world, like an older game, like even FF7, 8, 9, or Breath of Fire games, or you've Legend of Dragoon, or even Tales of Symphonia, these aren't open world games, but they feel like they feel like they're even world because of the characters in the environments and the story. I think see, it's difficult because on the one hand, I absolutely agree with Rapunzel. There is a magic to Mass Effect mission-based storytelling. I think in many ways it does allow for a lot deeper storytelling experience. But then there's also the magic of Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cyberpunk and Witcher, where those games physically would not work. I think in many ways it depends on the game that you're making. So what is the actual game that you're making? But then also just how good is the studio? You know, like what is the studio? And then I also think the other problem is what is the expectation? So, for example, Final Fantasy 16 comes after 14 and also after 15. And it is my understanding that 15 was sort of either open world or very big areas to explore. So it's sort of like this, what are players expecting to happen next? And if you didn't give them the opposite of what they're expecting, you're almost definitely going to let them down. Rapunzel, you know what I dream about in Cyberpunk 2077? The areas in between the cities. Because we don't technically really get to explore those. You get to see sort of like the immediate areas around the city. But you don't really get to see the rest. That's what I imagine. I got it. You see, No Man's Sky added the Normandy from Mass Effect into the fleet. I heard about it, but I've not been able to really get into No Man's Sky, so I probably won't be playing it. People dream about things, labels, destinations, socially, through only external validation things. Amy, how you doing? I mean, it feels like you're on a whole different wavelength to the rest of the conversation. Because we're not really talking about dreams as in, like actual real world dreams. We're talking about playing games and imagining things of those games. No Man's Sky takes a bit to get into since it just drops you in. Yeah, well, maybe I'm just one of those people that have not been able to get into it, but I have not been able to get into it. Well, there is the nice thing of the remake of Witcher 1, which I am mega excited for. Because they're taking The Witcher 1, they're moving it to the Unreal Engine, they're making it open world, finally. They're basically making the entirety of Witcher 1 from scratch, this time with a full-blown open world. And it is my understanding that a lot of it, in terms of gameplay, is going to be similar to Witcher 3. I'm super excited for Light No Fire, though. Yes, I am excited for Light No Fire. But here's my problem. I'm usually excited for survival games, and then I'm just as quickly unexcited for survival games. I am convinced that survival games is the biggest non-genre in the gaming world. Because I get excited for almost every survival game. And a few hours into a survival game, I am bored out of my mind. I just don't... I love the concept. I hate the gaming. I just can't get into it. Dungeon Friends to play with, to be honest. See, I don't like when people say that. Lodi, never say that to me. I hate when people use that example. Because people do that all the time. Oh, the game is really fun if you have a group of friends. Yeah. So is sitting in a room with absolutely nothing to do. If you have good friends, you can literally sit in a room with nothing to do and you'll be able to have fun. That does not speak to how good the game is. It just speaks to how good your friends are at making things fun. A game has to be fun on its own or else it's not a fun game. Like, I hate when people use but it's fun with friends. It's like, dude, no. Everything, I have actually sat in a room with nothing to do and had the time of my life with my friends. But that doesn't count, right? I'm not about to give sitting in a room with nothing to do 10 out of 10. Just because it is fun with your friends. If you do it alone, it sucks. So I'm not a huge fan of that argument of, but it's good with friends. Needs a certain charm to get past the need friends scratch. I would say the only survival game that worked for me in that regard was Palworld. Leona, how you doing? Yeah. Palworld is the only survival game I can say with absolute certainty I have loved and I still love. Because it just works. It does what it needs to do, and it does it well. Valheim is too grindy solo. You have to grind for everything. No, that's not fun. I'm a survival game junkie. Bloxy, how you doing? New guys, why? What did I miss? Oh, we're busy arguing and debating over gaming. I know, it's berries, Leona. Evil Dead I had fun with, but that's only because the story was interesting. Last boss in Valheim gave me PTSD. Holy crap. I have never played Evil Dead. Sounds scary. Won't play it. No, I hate survival games. I absolutely despise survival games. There's so many, like, I don't know, maybe it's just that survival as a genre has not yet reached endgame. Because if you think about survival as a genre, it is actually fairly new. Yes, Fallout had elements of survival, but the pure survival genre is a fairly new genre. And I'm sort of thinking it might morph into something more. Palworld, for example, shows a step in its evolution. I think the next step in its evolution is probably going to be RPG survival. Full-blown story, full-blown world, completely combined with full-blown survival elements. Most likely where the next step is. Didn't really kick off with DayZ. Yeah, well, the DayZ mod was the thing that really jump-started it. Now, when was that? 2015, 16? Something like that? Kiki, yeah. That's the thing that I love about that's the thing that I loved about Palworld is the fact that Palworld didn't it's almost survival light. Razor Connor, how you doing, sir? Yeah, well, it's not really a fresh cut. I've had it for a week, but thanks for noticing. I appreciate that. When someone says survival, my mind goes to survival horror and OGR 1 to 3. There's one Ark Survival Evolved expansion where your food thirst depletes like crazy and you're constantly have to find water and food and couldn't really focus on crafting, hunting, and taming. I skipped that shit so hard. Survival games are older than you think. I have to find the titles though. I learned about them at uni. Powell is literally reaching... No, but Dark Confessor, I'm talking about when survival games became mainstream. So not the in like the first games that were really survival. Because there I could go back to Gothic 1. Because technically Gothic 1 is, well, definitely survival-esque in its application. You could even go to something like Fable, which has some survival elements within it. You know, so you can go very far back. But in terms of like pure survival gaming and when it became like super popular was kind of the like DayZ mod. I think it was the Arma 3 mod for DayZ or the Arma 2 mod for DayZ. And then DayZ split off and actually became its own game. And that I think that was the moment that it really became the genre to make in. And so every indie company started making survival games. And that may actually have been the ruining factor, is that everyone started making these survival games. I remember a time where every month there would be a new survival game on the market. It's like, really? Are we just doing this the whole time? Thank you very much, Razor Connor. Palworld is literally reskin Ark Survival anyway. Then, but Ark isn't the one suing them. Nintendo thinks it's literally just Pokemon, though. I just want to say, though, I don't care if games are close to other games. I don't give a shit. Because I don't think there is such a thing as an original idea. I don't think original ideas actually exist. That is true, Bloxy. That always happens. I mean, not many people remember this, but DMC came out. It was like 4 other Nintendos that were very similar in playstyle, but the only one people remember is DMC. That does happen. Obi Wayne, how are you doing, sir? Nintendo is going after them for a mechanic that the creators had in their Craftopia game before Nintendo even did anything with Arceus. Yeah, but Nintendo is still suing them. Nintendo invented animals and trapping them. Did you know? Yeah, I heard about that. There are mods to turn Skyrim into a surviving game, but people prefer different settings. Some just some elements. Others want to do it hardcore. Designers need to keep that in mind. My personal opinion, unless a survival game has the PAL system from Palworld, I don't want anything to do with it. I want to be able to recruit people and let those people do the work for me. I don't want to be doing it myself. I hate that. And while, yes, there's still things about the PALs that really annoy me because the AI isn't always brilliant, and I would love to have the ability to actually set tasks like you do, for example, in games like Alien Stranded or Stranded Alien Dawn or Oxygen Not Included. The ability to tell certain pals to do certain jobs. I still want that. I like that. Dinosaurs instead, but you couldn't really automate them though. Yeah, remember that's the thing. I want to automate it. And for chum change, so this will set an image for the Palworld guys. If you choose to pay, they're better not. They should fight this all the way. True. I think that a case like Palworld should provoke a rethinking about intellectual property and all that stuff. If you take an idea and make it better than the other company, more power to that. Nintendo should go pound sand and learn from that. Don't even start with the whole copyright bullshit. Like, I am convinced the biggest scam in the world is copyright and patent law. Dude, it is 2024 and we're still forced to listen to quote unquote free music because the music industry thinks that streamers should be applying for $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 licenses if they want to listen to music on their streams. As if streams aren't literally just free advertising for music. It's nuts. And yet here we are because copyright law protects them. That's actually something I feel very strongly about. Hopefully Trump will take an absolute hammer to that shit. Oh, that's fun. Found it. Game is called Deuce. Deuce. The music industry is rotten. That will never change. Have you seen Trump's announcements on Section 230? Obi Wayne, I think I did, yes. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am a massive fan of everything Trump is announcing. Like, he keeps announcing things and I keep going, man, that sounds good. Let's fucking go, bro. After Trump has, made America better, maybe he can, nip down to South Africa and can make South Africa great again. Because that shit sounds fire. He sounds like he's going after all the right shit. I like it. You can come help out the UK too. Panda Poops, how you doing? Yeah, how about we just make Trump president of the world? And he can fix the entire world's problems and then we can just move on. When was they say great? Depends on who you speak to, Shumi. If he manages to keep 50% of the promise, I see it as a win. I would say South Africa was pretty great just after Mandela and Thabo Mbeki. Like, the Mandela and the Thabo Mbeki era was probably the best that South Africa ever was. We had this massive drop in unemployment. People's wages were going up. The economy was starting to look incredibly good. everything was just looking good. I mean, yeah, Mr. Zuma came into power and shit. Things went down south fast. Like, fast. That might even be possible with Elon Musk on his side. Hey, why not? Got Emperor Trump, Putin for president. Okay, you are in a Mandela effect right now. Jimmy, what do you mean? Looking, I would settle for him being able to bring the common sense back to America. Well, have you listened to his announcements? Can someone link me Trump's announcements? He's made like a bunch of announcements. Because they're really good. The things that he's suggesting is really good. Why it's called what? Is Tiffany linking all of them? All right. I think I follow Tiffany Fong, actually. Because she keeps calling people retard. No, I don't. But she does call people retard on my timeline a lot. And I like that. It makes me laugh. Oh, shit. And she's going after this dude. That's funny. I think it's these. All right, so here we go. This is about tuition costs. Let's see.
Tuition costs at colleges and universities have been exploding, and I mean absolutely exploding. While academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth, the time has come to reclaim.
Well, it's been exploding because you have universities that literally have all student debt backed by the government. What did you think was going to happen? What happened in 2008? Actually, we should go a little bit back. What happened in 2000 that caused the 2008 financial crash? Banks had debt that they knew the government would back. So they were giving out loans as if it was going out of fashion. And then the government backed them as soon as the people couldn't pay it back. The universities are in the same position. So the banks and the universities know they can basically, the universities know they could charge as much as they want for tuition because the banks will bankroll it because the banks know if the students can't pay it, the government has to pay it. So that's why tuition fees are as high as they are. It's physically just that.
Claim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so bad.
The thing is, Shumi, when you say change them with people, with our guys, the one issue you have there is if you look at Trump's entire transition team, there are Republicans and there are liberals on that transition team. Tulsi Gabbard has never, nor is she, a conservative. She is only a conservative in regards to the far left, but she is very much not a conservative in terms of her policies. RFK, if you look at all of his policies, he's not a conservative either. I don't think, by the way, Trump is a conservative. I think the reason Trump ran Republican was he knew he would never get in with the Democrats. He knew he would never get in with the Democrats. So that's why he ran Republican. But if you look at Trump's friends, Trump was literal personal friends with Hillary and Bill Clinton. He donated money to the DNC for a very long time, right? So Trump is actually much more of a liberal guy than he is a conservative guy. I don't think anything Trump here said is wrong. If you look at America, the number one issue for young people today is as soon as they leave university, they are in debt for the rest of their lives. What Trump is doing here is putting pressure on universities to go back to shit that makes sense. To stop offering things like feminist dance theory, because while yes, the university gets a boatload of cash from the student that studied feminist dance theory, the feminist dance theory graduate doesn't have a job. And they won't have a job very soon because BioWare and Ubisoft is about to go bankrupt, and then there will literally be no one to employ these feminists that majored in dance theory. So fundamentally, what he's doing is telling universities, get back to what makes sense and leave everything else out of the nonsense. He's still not interfering directly with universities. He's just saying he's going to take a look at their accreditation, which I think is good.
Badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America.
Get rid of what, Shumi? Because I'm assuming that you want them to get rid of, or you want him to get rid of student debt altogether. Why would he want to do that? Because the only other option there would be that the government funds all tuition for all students. Wonderful practice in countries that are much smaller, have far fewer people, and everyone's working and paying decent taxes. Not a great policy for a country of almost 400 million people, or 340, 360 million people. And not everyone works, not everyone pays taxes. That would be a nightmare of a policy. Not to mention the fact that America doesn't have the same economic situation as a lot of the countries in Europe, where if you look, for example, across the board in Europe, what do all of those countries, what do they make? They make cars, they make software. Scandinavia, for example, famously, mostly software engineers and sort of working at services rather than with products. America doesn't have that. America still has a vibrant manufacturing wing. And if you start sending everyone to university, you kill that immediately. I would also like to point out, South Africa doesn't have free education. You have to pay in order to go to university in South Africa. You're not bankrupt as a result of going to university and paying to go to university in South Africa. Because unlike in America, the student debt isn't backed by the government. And so universities in South Africa still have to be mindful, because if the university gets too expensive, the bank just goes, yeah, I'm not paying that. I'm not giving money for that. And then the university loses out on students. So it's sort of, they're keeping each other in check. There is a reason there are no European social media sites. I think government should do that for a certain amount of people that we need in certain fields, like military does. I don't believe the government should provide anything for free, because there is no such thing as free. The government doesn't make money. The government just spends other people's money. And I don't want them to spend my money on bullshit like that. If you want to go to university, you pay for it. I don't want to pay for you going to university. Why should I? I think it's also super unfair that the kid that left school at the age of 18 and immediately started working in the banking industry or in the mining industry, for example, becoming a miner, is now forced to pay taxes so that you can go waste 4 years of your life on university campus. If you want to go to university, but then you have to pay for it. What the government should do is ensure that people don't, that universities don't screw over young people